At this time, we will call to order the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for September 20th, 2012. I'd like to say hello to everyone and tell you if you're not here for a special exception or a variance, you're probably in the wrong room. I'd also like to tell you, if you wouldn't mind, please turn off your cell phones at this time. Our first order of business today will be receiving the minutes of September 6th, 2012.
Move to approve.
Second.
Please cast your votes. Measure passes. The next thing would be, do we have any continuance requests from the staff today?
We have two today. Item number 7, case number 13598, and item number 8, case number 13545, are requesting continuances to October 18th.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to continue those matters until October.
And Mr. Chairman, I presume there's no objection from anyone out there to these?
Hearing none, I'll accept a motion at this time.
Move to approve, to continue.
And a second. Please vote. Those matters are continued. Any requests for continuance from the public at this time? There being none, would you please call the first order of business today?
Item number 1, case number 13607, request of Crafton Tall and Associates for a variance to the hard surface paving requirement located at 2800 North Cimarron Road.
Would you please state your full name and address for the record, sir?
Chris Gray with Crafton Toll. Address is 7970 Lindsay Lane, Edmond, Oklahoma.
Good afternoon to you. Would you please present your matter at this time?
Yes, sir. We were here before you on the 6th to discuss this application, and at the request of the board, we took a continuance to consider if there were other materials that would produce less dust, and to see if there was some commitments that the owner could give to offer to control the dust that may be developed as a part of the operations of this business. Wanted to share a little information that I found out is this facility is going to have somewhere between 6 to 10 truckloads per week. So we're talking about a very low volume of traffic that will be utilizing this. But we looked at using, instead of an ODOT type A aggregate, which has a little bit more fines that may produce dust, we went with a type B that has larger stones and less fines that would produce dust. And if there's further questions about that, I do have a traffic engineer with me that can talk to the details of that. But the owner did make a commitment that he would use that material. He also made a commitment to watering on a regular basis as a preventative measure to control the dust, and also to post speed limit signs that they would enforce at 20 miles an hour to control the dust.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Didn't you mention at one time at the last meeting that was only going to be temporary, that it would be paid? Do you know what that time frame is?
Yes, the timeline that we talked about initially was a couple years, and after talking with the owner and trying to see what kind of a commitment he could make, it's going to be a little dependent upon how quickly business picks up, because if business picks up quickly and they have more deliveries, then they need to go ahead and asphalt the road, but they aren't able to predict how the economy is going to respond, how business is going to respond. And so they think the full build-out of this project is going to be somewhere between 8 to 12 years, and they hope that the other business units will go online within 3 to 5 years. So we're thinking that the driveway that goes on and back to the eastern business unit, we're hopeful that will be paved within 3 to 5 years.
And it's my understanding that you're estimating that ultimately there will be about 95 employees there? Is that
yes,
correct?
full campus build out. That's the estimate.
But that's going to happen over a longer period of time.
Yes, sir. We're looking at this, estimating it happening in the next 12 years. And before any of the other business developments would go in, we were going to have the road asphalted.
And then there would be a parking lot, a paid parking lot for employees?
For the staff, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. I think we have someone here in opposition today. If you wouldn't mind taking a seat for a moment, we'd like to hear from Mr. John Murphy, I think it
I've got
is.
one other question.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And this is maybe for the attorney. If we approve this, could we put a timeline on it? Like say for 2 years and then take another look at it later? Yes. See how they perform.
Any other questions? Didn't mean to cut anybody off, I'm so sorry. If you'll have a seat for a second, we'll hear from Mr. John Murphy, please. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi there. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing good. How are you?
Oh, just peachy. No, I come again in opposition to this because if you can see from that drawing there, they're talking about paving 210 feet. And that property is a mile long. 210 feet's not much when you talk about a property of that size. And when I read their complaint or request for a variance, it stated that they just wanted to get away from the unnecessary hardship of paving. Well, the best I could tell, the unnecessary hardship was it costs more. And, you know, if you're going to work with a mile-long piece of property, I'm thinking that you should be able to put a little more into it than 210 feet. And I drove out to it. They have a property, and I don't know whether it's in Oklahoma City or Dale City, but it's on Sunny Lane. My wife and I went out there just to get an idea of what kind of a situation that we were looking at. The pipe yard is just what it says. They have steel pipe racks made where they store this pipe, but there's also, as best I can tell, it's big valves and this kind of items that's done in the oil field. Apparently they clean these and repaint them and remanufacture them and whatever. As far as I know, it's a rental. I'm not real sure on that, but just looking at their website, that's kind of the impression that I got, is they rent oil field equipment. So whenever this comes back, they've got to re-clean it, get it all straightened up and put a bow on it and lipstick and say, here you go, boys, here's a new one right here. But, like I said, this is the type of operation that's going in right behind a residential neighborhood. And I've lived there for 12 years. I think I was the third house to be occupied. And everybody there's got 5 acres or greater. And the only thing that we saw when it was presented to us at the homeowners meeting was just an outline of the property and showing a fence. That's it. They didn't have any layout of where buildings were going to be put or distances or anything like that. Chris sent me an email that gave me that information when he came to the house. We talked, and he was trying to graphically on a piece of paper show, well, there's going to be one here and one over here. And I said, have you got something that's a little more descriptive than writing this on the back of a napkin or whatever? Yeah, I'll email it to you. I said, that'll be great. So that's when I got what we're looking at on the screen. And that's where I saw the 210 feet was the extent of their paving idea. Now, we just talked, Chris and I, about this watering and speed limit and all of this business. Now, I've worked in the construction business for a long, long time. And whenever you see a speed limit on private property, you don't really adhere to it too much because you think, are the property police going to jump out and grab me if I go 20 miles an hour? No. That's what we're dealing with. And this keeping it watered down, here again. How often is this going to happen? What are they restricted to? You know, I told him, I said, I can tell you anything. I could say in a year, we're going to make blimps out here. That doesn't mean anything unless it's on a piece of paper that I can say, look, this is what you said you would do. This hasn't been done. What are we going to deal with? So that's what my complaint is. Everything is so vague. Nothing is written down. I just spoke with him about this aggregate, this ground up asphalt, and he said, well, it doesn't make good enough base for future asphalt being put down. Well, for how long? What are we talking about here? 5 years? You know, he's talking about 10 years. Well, a lot of things happen in 10 years.
Sure.
So that's what my complaint is. If they bought the property, they knew what the restrictions were when they bought it, live by it. Don't say, all right, now to make it a little cheaper on me, I think I can get them to say it's okay to put this in gravel. One of these statements in here, it said, these people out here are used to gravel. I'm thinking, what kind of a deal is that? These people out in this area are used to gravel. I'll admit it's not downtown Oklahoma City, but I had to pave my road. Every neighbor had to do theirs. This is a neighbor. This is another neighbor that we have moving in. And I want to see them live by the rules and restrictions that were in place whenever they bought the property. If they didn't want to do that, they could have moved a mile west and they wouldn't be in anybody's city limits. They could do whatever they wanted. So, as long as they're here, you know, let's try to be a good neighbor about this and do it right instead of piecing it in, maybe in 4 or 5 years. Who knows? So that's my position on it.
I do know in the past that we've looked at this issue, and the gravel has been allowed because of stormwater runoff issues, and also that when you have heavy equipment on paved roads, it can get damaged quickly, and then you have a lot of downtime trying to repair that and still operate a business. And so I think everybody needs to be good neighbors, and everybody needs to cooperate, and we don't want you having a bunch of dust affecting your property. And so we're cognizant of that. We're aware of that, and that's what we're going to talk to Chris some more at this time, if that's okay.
Okay, well, everybody out there lives on a lake, my house included, on a lake. Now, one of the neighbors, one of his lakes is the runoff from one of the lakes here on this other property, the property that we're talking about. So it's a chain reaction. It flows down, goes in this lake, overflows into this lake, just keeps going into Shell Creek, which basically is the Richland boundary of their property.
Okay.
So, you know, we're talking fish, we're talking whatever. I tell everybody that, no, you don't want anything out of there because it's a landfill or something, you know, make them say, I wouldn't touch a fish that came out of there, you know, so that, it works for me. But, like I said, this is what my position is, and that's my case that I'm trying to plead. So,
Thank you for your time. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Murphy?
Mr. Murphy, how many, I believe you said that they made a presentation to the Homeowners Association?
Yep.
How many members are in that association?
members are 10 or 11.
Okay. And I know that you may not be speaking on behalf of the
Right,
homeowners.
I'm not.
But do you have a sense as to whether others have
Oh,
expressed?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but see, unfortunately, or fortunately for that matter, I'm off in the daytime, and I'm the one that has the free time to come down here and deal with this, where the other people have jobs and daycares and all of this. I don't. So that's how I get elected to come up here and make my pitch. Okay?
Thank you for your time, Mr. Murphy. We really appreciate it, and your comments. The one question I had before you get started, in looking at your drawing, it appears that the largest gravel area will be on the west end of the property. Is that correct?
The east end?
Is it the east end?
Yes, sir.
And what's the proximity of that to the homes?
We're looking at approximately a quarter of a mile, and Mr. Murphy's home is more than 500 feet away from our south boundary. I do want to bring up something that was brought up last time, in that I did speak with every one of the property owners along our south boundary. Spoke with the Homeowners Association president and the neighbors who have ponds, and we explained the same things that we talked to Mr. Murphy about. It was unfortunate that this exhibit did not make it to the neighbors' hands when the notice went out, but I did follow up with each of those homeowners to show them the same exhibit that was presented in our application that shows that only the areas that the gravel would be permitted. And in my conversations with them, They were glad to hear that of all the things that could be put in this place, with the whole thing being zoned I-2, they were very pleased to know that most of the development was pushed to the far northern end of the property, that many of the trees are going to be maintained and not removed because of the floodplain. And so there's a lot of natural things that are in place that are natural inhibitors to dust, not even counting the dust prevention measures that we would be committing to.
I guess the question I'd have on this parcel on the east end, would it be fair to say that would there be any fencing surrounding it or anything that might...
Security fencing, yes, sir.
Okay, and would that fence be more of stockade that would prevent dust from heading towards the neighborhood?
It's probably going to be a chain link fence, but we're trying to be good neighbors and work with some of the residents who have asked about privacy, and we're going to work with them on a one-on-one basis to make sure that that's addressed. But no, the by and large, the fencing is going to be chain link fence.
Okay, all right. Well, I would encourage you to work with the neighbors, and I don't know how the board's going to vote on this, but it's always good to work with your neighbors.
Well, and that's been the intent, and we have had several conversations with Mr. Murphy, and I've tried to help him understand that this is not a free license to do whatever, but the commitments that we're making with this location and the dust control, these are things that we're bound by. And the intent is that this will be done within 3 to 5 years, and for the road that comes in. I'd be glad to answer any other questions.
Are there any questions from any of the board members? Any questions?
Couple of questions. Have you looked at fencing? And if you have looked at fencing, what is your idea on the fencing? There's a couple of ways that you could fence this thing, and have you looked at that? And can you tell us what your plans are there?
The current plan is to do chain link fencing with a barbed wire security wire along the top. We are just beginning the conversations with the 5 different property owners that abut the property. Most of the property is screened by the trees from the floodplain, and there's 3 or 4 homes from the Lost Lake Addition that adjoin us where there are not as many trees. And so we're working in that area, and more than likely, we're going to work towards some sort of a privacy fence with those homeowners.
Okay, so you think there's a possibility?
Absolutely.
Would you commit to that?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So just to clarify, so in those areas where there aren't natural barriers, you all are amenable to?
Yes, sir. To the south, where the Lost Lake Addition is, that opening, yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve with a limit of 2 years. We're going to look at the thing again in 2 years, and that you will put a privacy fence, and it looks like probably about a half a mile from the west boundary of the subdivision to your east boundary.
From Cimarron, about a half mile in, is all floodplain. It's all large, thick vegetation and trees. And it opens up just those 3 lots by the Lost Lake Addition. Yes, those 3 right there.
I still think that needs to be fenced.
Yes, sir.
And that's my motion to do that. With the 2-year limit on the gravel, you'll have to come back and we'll have to look at it again.
And just so I'm clear, what you're talking about fencing is the area where the largest amount of gravel is on the east end of the property?
The whole subdivision from the west boundary over to the east boundary.
If I may, for my clarification, we're talking about the northern boundary of the Lost Lake Additions. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
would you think about amending it to maybe a year?
That's fine with me.
Okay, now procedurally, what do we do?
Okay?
Procedurally, the movement has agreed to amend his motion, and his motion will be amended for a conditional approval with the subject to be revisited in 1 year.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I can go with that. Yeah, 1 year. With the fence, yeah.
It is, and are you putting any limitations on the style or type fence or anything like that?
I just think it needs to be some kind of an opaque fence that, that would actually separate the residential from the industrial. And I think the ordinance spells it out, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're just saying a site-proof fence that's required by the ordinance.
So it's what we've referred to in the past as like site-proof screening fence.
Minimum 6-foot site-proof screening fence.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And this would include the type B gravel, the watering, and the speed limit signs
Yes, sir.
that you committed to.
I think we have a document from you that indicates the kind of aggregate that you're going to use and that you will water and so on and so forth. I recall receiving an email to that fact, so we do have that documented. Is that correct? Okay.
I'll second that motion, the amended motion.
Is there any further discussion? There being none, please cast your vote. Your application is approved, sir. Thank you for coming today. Mr. Murphy, thank you, too, for coming, sir. We appreciate you.
Item number 2, case number 13618, application for special exception of John McKean to allow a mobile home to serve as a temporary second dwelling to relieve a medical hardship located at 13405 Southwest 29th Street.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you? Good. Would you please state your full name and address for the record?
John McKean, 400 South Ranchwood, Lot 156, Yukon, Oklahoma.
Would you please present your application at this time?
My mom lives on 5 acres. She's 82 years old, beginning to have small strokes, getting to where we need to take care of her. If we want to move a trailer out there, until she's dead. I mean, she don't want to go to a nursing home, any of that stuff. She wants to stay in her home. So we want to go out there to take care of her.
It's my understanding that the application complies with the ordinance. I am not aware of any unfavorable considerations. Do you know, are any of your neighbors opposing this, or have any of your neighbors complained about this mobile home?
No. She lives in a mobile home, so it'll be a second mobile home.
Okay.
And I believe that this is for a period of 3 years, correct?
And then if she's not gone by then, you reapply?
That's right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And I'll move to approve the application.
I got one question, and maybe this would be to the staff, and I forgot. If they put the second mobile home, can they use the same septic system, or do they have to will they have to put a new septic system in?
It is a updated septic system. We've got a 1,000-gallon tank with 500 feet of chambered lateral line, and there will only be 3 of us living there.
It would have to be inspected for them to get a permit, and if the septic system is large enough to meet both, they can. If not, they'll have to put in another.
So it'd be more city-county health?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please cast your vote at this time?
Okay.
You're approved, sir.
All right.
Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Item number 3, case number 13619, request of the City of Oklahoma City for a variance to the sign regulations regarding the maximum number of permitted signs per street frontage located at 6900 South Walker Avenue.
Good afternoon. Would you please state your name for the record and your address?
Yes, my name is Rachel Mosher, and I live at 8009 Harvest Hills South Boulevard.
Would
I
you
work for
present
the
your
city.
application at this time?
I'm here about the Southern Oaks Library, which just recently completed a remodel, and we have our grand opening scheduled for Tuesday. We are reopening the building. We had existing signs on the building, which might be difficult to read from the street as they are placed. We had a monument sign that we believe was installed with a permit, and is existing also on site. As part of our remodel, we added 2 building signs, and we did not apply for them in advance of installing them, so they are actually on the building right now. And we are asking to have all 4 signs approved, even though we're only allowed, I believe, 1 sign because we only have 1 street frontage.
I guess the most important question is, how does the remodel look?
Oh, I think it looks fantastic.
All right. And it's my understanding that these signs do not face any residential homes, and also the intent is to help with pedestrian access. Is that correct?
Yes, we have an apartment community directly to the south, and the 2 new signs will basically be facing that way, which is also our parking lot, which is an existing parking lot.
Okay, so no single family.
That's correct.
All right. Any questions?
The building does look great, so I'll move it.
All right.
Thank you.
Would you please cast your vote at this time? You are approved. Keep everybody reading.
Thank you.
Item number 4, case number 13620, application for special exception of Jarvis Nash to allow a child care center located at 624 Northeast 3rd Street.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your name and your address?
Jarvis Marquise Nash, 8621 East Reno, number 7, Midwest City, Oklahoma, 73110.
Would you present your application at this time, please, sir?
Yes, sir. I am applying to open a child care center at 624 Northeast 3rd Street. There will be approximately 45 kids. Myself, my wife, and mother-in-law plan on running it. Hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. There will be roughly 4 employees at max.
Okay.
All employees will go through, in addition to interviews, we plan on having them do an MMPI, which is a mental evaluation. There will also be we want there to be at least 1 field trip a day, a month for the kids. There will be surveillance where parents can watch their kids from home or their cell phones or devices at any time of the day.
I guess the question that I would have is, are you aware of anybody that's in opposition to this
No.
application? There is someone standing up back in the back of the room, and I don't know if he's here to support you or...
Actually, I was just here because I got a notice and I didn't know what it was all about, so that's what the property at 624.
Did it scare you when you saw this guy in uniform?
I'm sorry?
I said, did it scare you when you saw this guy in uniform?
No. No, I don't worry about that. I didn't know why I was supposed to be here, so I showed up. And
They would just want to put you on notice on what they propose to do and see if you had any concerns or opposition to it. And we haven't heard of any oppositions, and we're glad you came today.
Okay.
But it's for a daycare center.
Okay, well, I don't have any opposition to what he was talking about, I guess. And where was the place you were going to open up?
The address? It's right directly across the street from the church, 624 Northeast 3rd Street.
Okay, that's supposed to be my property, I believe, 624 Northeast 3rd Street.
Gulfport Investments.
Wonder why did I get a notice? That's the only thing I'm saying.
Excuse me?
I was wondering why I got a notice.
I don't know that process.
We're required to send notice of all the public hearings to all property owners within a certain radius of the subject property.
Okay.
So you must own a property nearby.
Okay, good enough.
And the application for variance is at 624 Northeast 3rd Street.
Okay.
And what is your address?
Mine is,
It's not 624, correct?
Where have you living?
Thank you for coming today. The only concern that I saw that staff mentioned was the parking lot in its proximity to the playground. and there were some concerns, I think, raised by that. And are you aware of those concerns?
No, sir.
One thought that came to mind was if you've got cars that are parking facing a playground, if someone were to accidentally hit the gas instead of a brake, that could be kind of a dangerous
There will be
situation.
barriers there, also a fence separating on the
there-
parking, on the...
Yeah, but there's usually, what are the different types of things that we can put in for that?
Probably the best thing would be like some bollards in front of the spaces where...
You know what those are?
Yes, sir.
Or the concrete parking curbs, something that can slow that car down or stop it from going on the playground.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. Maybe poles in front where...
Would you have any problem if that was made a part of the motion
No,
for
sir.
approval?
Whatever we need to do is fine.
Are there any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve with the addition of either parking curbs or,
The ballards?
yeah, the pipes, or whichever may work better. So,
Yes, sir.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
We have a second. Would you please cast your votes? Sir, you are approved.
I sure appreciate you. Can I
Thank
say
you.
one more thing?
Yes.
It's very close to downtown, so if you all want to have little kids, please call me and let me know. They'll be safe in my establishment.
Thank you very much. A little free advertising today.
Item number 5, case number 13621, request of Ted Reed for a variance to the hard surface paving requirement located at 10920 Northwest 10th Street.
How are you today?
Good afternoon, good.
Would you
Would you like
please?
my name and address?
Yeah, you can pull that microphone down if you like.
How's that?
Your name and your address, please.
Tracy Elkins, 2000 St. James Place, Houston, Texas.
All right, and would you tell us a little bit about your application, please?
We have an application for a crushed limestone paving area in the back of a yard that we have leased at 10920 Northwest 10th. My company is Weatherford International, and we intend to have heavy equipment parked in this area. Heavy equipment and concrete paving are not exactly conducive to the maintenance requirements that we have, so we find that works much better with a crushed limestone type paving surface, but that's not within the standard allowances, so we're just asking if we could have some consideration in this case. We've got about just under 3 acres of parking in the rear that we would be putting equipment on.
Just out of curiosity, is Weatherford International related to the oil and gas service companies, Weatherford, or is it?
It is the same, one and the same.
Okay.
And this is our coil tubing division.
Okay. And your home offices are in Houston?
Well, our U.S. offices are in Houston, Texas, where our home office is in Switzerland.
Okay, all right. Are there any questions from the board about this application? I would say this. This is one of the best written applications I've seen in a long time. It's
I'll
nicely
give your
done.
regards to our architect. Thank you.
Well, I move to approve.
Is there a second? Would you please cast your votes? You were approved today. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Item number 6, case number 13622, request of JLM Properties for a variance to permit a freestanding arched entryway sign and a variance to the landscaping requirements of the sign regulations located at 25 North Oklahoma Avenue.
I guess I'm the one that's left.
You're the last one standing, and there's no one sitting.
I am, that's good, there's no opposition. I'm Cindy Wright with Johnson & Associates, representing JLM Properties, the owner. What they are proposing in that sign, or the exhibit is off a little bit, where it is showing the proposed sign is actually an existing parking lot, but it's that parking lot is under a different ownership. The little driveway to the east of that is where the sign will be located, right in there. Yeah. They are proposing to install 2 lights that are very similar to the street lights that are existing there along Sheridan. In between the lights will be located a curved or arched lattice with a 12-square-foot sign. It will not be illuminated. The only lighting will be from the light posts. The post itself, as well as the entry gate, all will be located on private property. The entrance, that accessway was originally designed as a service alley, so there really isn't much of a change in the use there. They simply would like to install the signage to get a little bit more exposure of the parking lot, which is behind all of those buildings fronting Sheridan.
And I presume there's, I believe, Abuelos is one of your neighbors and some of the other folks on that strip. Any opposition from any of those folks?
Not that we know of. And this sign was required to go before the Bricktown Committee. We have received their approval at their hearing of August the 8th.
Okay.
No safety concerns have been expressed for vehicle or pedestrian traffic?
No.
Any questions? Any further questions?
Further questions? I move to approve.
Is there a second? Please cast your vote. You are approved. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
All right. The next two matters were continued to the October 18th docket. Additional items. There is one last additional item I'd like to cover today before we move to adjourn, and that is our good friend Bernard Jones is attending his last meeting. Mr. Jones has been appointed by Governor Mary Fallin to the new position of Oklahoma County District Judge, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say what Mary said about Mr. Jones, which was, as an attorney in private practice and as a member of the OCU School of Law faculty, Bernard Jones has proven himself as a talented and skillful attorney committed to upholding the law. Additionally, the governor said, additionally, he is a civic leader in our community, dedicated to helping others. These qualities ensure Bernard Jones will serve the state well during his time as an Oklahoma County District Judge. I just want to say you served us well. You did a great job. We're very proud of you, and good luck with the new job.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I've really enjoyed my tenure here and getting to know all of you and serving the citizens of Oklahoma City. And so I, of course, thank the mayor for affording me this opportunity, and I look forward to serving the citizens of the state. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to say I won't be a stranger, but I'm sure I will.
You might get some appeals from us.
Not if you all keep doing the right thing. So.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at this time.
So moved.
Is there a second? Please cast your vote. We are adjourned. Good day.